Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. Today it is a beautiful late November day here in Southwest Florida. It is 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 21 degrees Celsius. Just a great day, and it's windy, clear skies. Because it's so windy, you're going to hear wind chimes, I think, from the guy across the street. They left town and just left their chimes out, and for some reason they are just, it's piercing. You can hear them very clearly, and I apologize for that. What I have today is a video I wanted to share with you. This is by request, kind of. One of you wanted to see harvest of Dendrobium pollinia, and I'm going to show you that, but I got a little bit of a story to tell, and because Dendrobium flowers are small, it may be harder to see the features and the pollinia on that, so I'm going to start off with doing a harvest and a pollination of this Cattleya right here. Before I do that, I want to just share with you my general philosophy and outlook on how I do, not how I do crosses, but some of the thought that's involved in harvesting and storage of pollinia. All right, so why do you do this? Well, if I wanted to make a cross between, for example, these two flowers that both happen to be blooming now, that would be fine, but they have to, if you make crosses like this where you use fresh pollinia from here and cross it on to this, I should say that this is Ports of Paradise, Emerald Isle, right here. I've shared both of these with you recently, and this is Cornerstone Compass. And these are just really, this one especially is an exceptionally beautiful plant. Ports of Paradise, this is a really nice Digbyana hybrid. The flowers are nice, the fragrance really on both of these is really nice, but what's going on with Ports of Paradise is the plant tends to be leggy, so it, beautiful flower, but as you can see the flowers fall over, the plants kind of spread out and are leggy, but it's a nice plant. It has some really nice features, but not this and this. So what I'm going to try to do, and what you want to do, is hybridize or cross plants where there'll be complementary features. Sure, you could get the worst of both parents, but I'm going to try for something in between. Anyway, what you do is you don't always rely on crossing the plants and harvesting the pollen from plants and then using that fresh pollen. It really limits and restricts you from making good crosses. So what I have and what I tend to do is I harvest and store my pollinia. So I can harvest the pollen sacs or the pollinia from this flower, and those pollinia, that a pollinia is essentially a sac of pollen. The sac, depending on the type of flower it is, the pollen, they're between, I don't know, 50,000 and a million or a few million pollinia in each of these sacs of pollen. They're really very small. But you can harvest these and store these in the refrigerator for about a year. So what happens is I go to my records, I see the pollen, the pollinia that I have stored, what kind of flower that's from, and then I will use those to cross onto this plant. And so what I'm doing is I'm hybridizing with some pollinia that I have in storage, and I'll do that in a minute. But for right now, the first thing I want to show you is how to harvest the pollinia and why to do that. All right, let me also tell you a little bit of a story before we get started. Sorry, but what I've done recently is I hybridize. This is Maikai. This is Brasanthe Maikai, and in this area, I was at a meeting last night, and a lot of people brought their Maikai plants in, and these things are incredibly prolific. I've got a few of these plants. This isn't the one that has the most flowers on it even, but I've crossed Encyclia tampensis onto this, and when I do that, I get seed capsules. They form and they split, and the problem that I have with the capsules that I've been getting on the Maikai from an Encyclia Maikai cross is I get very low, I get lots of seed, but very few of those seed are viable. So I've got just a few. I've made the cross twice. Same thing, I get just maybe a dozen seed, a dozen plants. And it's okay, and you can do stuff with it, and I can do things for myself, but I want to make a few more of these. What I haven't done is I haven't gone the other way. I haven't gone to Maikai and then used the pollinia from Maikai on Encyclia tampensis. Encyclia tampensis typically bloom in June, and right now it's November. So what I did, not with this Maikai, but I have another one that's a little more special, that's from an awarded plant, not my award, somebody else's, but I harvest a bunch of pollinia off of that, and then I thought I would have to wait until June next year, which is a while away, in order to cross it onto my Encyclia. But I gotta show you this because it's kind of weird. This is an Encyclia tampensis that is board mounted, and I just looked, and for some reason, of all the plants I have, and I've got a lot of plants of this is in spike. This is starting to put out spikes. So what I'm going to do, and I think it's better, the breeders have told me, I haven't tested this, the breeders have told me that it's better to pollen from a big flower onto a small flower because the pollen tubes and the pollen, they can travel from the bigger flower, they can travel better through the small flower than the opposite. So I'm going to try that. Anyway, I'm pretty excited because I've got my Maikai pollinia. I've got a lot of it stored, and I am going to cross that Maikai onto this Encyclia, and hopefully that'll work better. Again, I have enough plants for me. It's fine, but you know, you gotta have more orchids. So I'm gonna try the cross, and I'm kind of curious to see what works out. Okay, so let's get back to this. So what do? So on this plant, what I'm going to show you in a little bit, and I have to reposition the camera, I'm going to show you how I harvest pollinia from this orchid. And then I'm going to take my stored pollinia. I'm not going to use this plant, but I'm going to take my stored pollinia and pollinate these two flowers. And I'm going to show you a little process. And then right at the end, sorry, you're going to wait. I'll do it. I'll show you how the pollinia and how the anther cap and how things look so different because they're so much smaller on Dendrobium. But it's the same principle. It's essentially the same thing. All right. So what I do with my pollinia and harvest my pollinia. So I need my glasses to do this. These are my reading glasses to do this. And what you have to do is reach up in the flower and grab the anther cap. Now there are, depending on the type of flower, there are anywhere from 2 to 6 or more of these sacs, bright yellow sacs of pollen that are in here, and those are called the pollinia. You have to remove those pollinia from the anther cap, and what I do is I place them in these microfuge tubes, so these very small test tubes. You can store this, you can fold paper and store them in paper and stack the paper, you know, in a box in your refrigerator, but I like to use these because I'm in a laboratory. I like to use these small tubes. What you do with these small tubes is you have these are specialized containers for storage of these tubes, and this is a grid system, so this one runs A through, I don't know, is that J? It's even worn off, and then 1 through 10 across the top. So you've got essentially 100 positions. So I've got, right now I have one pollinia box, and so I've got, and it's full, so but not completely. I got some spaces in there. So I have pollen pollinia from 90 different flowers, types of orchids stored in my box. And again, I can pull them out at any time. I keep notes of how I store them on my phone. So I have A1, I know is this, B1, C7, I know is this. I put the orchid that it's from, the date that it was placed in there, and I keep good records on storage of my pollinia. The other thing that I do is I write, so this is Ports of Paradise, so I write PP for Ports of Paradise on the top, and there's a little place on the side of this tube. So you don't want to write extensive notes, but I write PP for Ports of Paradise on this tube, so when it goes in here, just because it gets crowded in this in this microfuge tube storage rack, so I can go in here and I can, it's just kind of a way to check to make sure that I'm grabbing the right pollinia. You know, you don't want to wait you know, 3 years down the road until your plant flowers to figure out that you used the wrong pollinia. So this is kind of a double and triple check. In addition to the notes that I keep on my phone, this is a way to check to make sure that Ports of Paradise from this plant is in this tube, in this location, in the fridge, as recorded here. Too much? Sorry. All right, so what I'm going to do is, I think I'm ready to go. I'm going to reposition the camera close so you can see what the pollinia harvest actually looks like. And so I hope to do this, and we'll see how it goes. The other thing, I'm going to go total geek on you here. The other thing that I sometimes do, and it's a little bit dark here on the, if you do this in bright sun, maybe you don't need this. But the other thing that I sometimes do, and I'm going to show you all, sometimes I use my spotlight in order to really see what's going on when I am harvesting and when I am pollinating as well. So I may show you all of this, and you may see a light showing up when I'm doing this. So what I'm going to do is kind of position myself and reposition the camera. And the first thing we'll do is pollinia harvest on this, then we'll take a break. I will collect the pollinia that's in storage that I want to use to make the hybrids, and I'll show you how I make the hybridization. And then again, way at the end, I'll show you the harvest of the pollinia from the Dendrobium flower. Okay, and we are back. So I had a little bit of a technical issue, and my my lapel mic stopped. Is really low a power, so I had to switch microphones, so we may hear even more of the chimes, maybe less, I don't know, we'll see, do a little experiment. So this is, again, Ports of Paradise, Emerald Isle right here. We're close in on the flower, and we'll see how this goes. So the pollinia are going to be right behind this structure right here, which is the anther cap. So the anther cap, right behind the anther cap, is where the pollinia is located, and then the pollinate, you place the pollen right behind it, the pollinia right behind it, and it's a sticky surface, and I might have to even reposition the camera just a little bit so that you can see underneath, because it goes, I don't want to bend the flower too much, but it goes right back underneath there. All right, so first thing is, and these are huge flowers, so you can see what the pollinia harvest looks like. So as we reach in here, we're going to grab, going to pull up this it fell down. So what I'm going to have to do is grab it. I see it, and so hold on a second. Let me grab it, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we are back, and so this was up underneath there, and I think you can tell that what's there, what I'm holding on my forceps, so the back side, that's the anther cap, and that's what fell out. And so that is all the pollinia right there. Now this thing fell out. A lot of times what happens with the pollinia is everything's sticky here. So normally what happens with the pollinia is it kind of sticks, but it didn't happen in this case. So what I'm going to have to do is grab this out of here, and then you can see, can you see, I hope, the strand and how that strand, and that's the stickiness of the pollinia. And it looks like, and let me pull this one out too. And so there's the other. There are only two of them in here, and I gotta be careful with them because I don't want to lose them. But this is, so these are, and I don't know if you can see it, it may not be good, it's a yellow, you know, these are yellow structures, and I'm showing you this in front of a green flower, but I think you can see it. Now these things, I will place them in the tube that I pre-labeled that has Ports of Paradise written on the top of it. Okay, and again, what happens, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but what happens is it tends to be sticky. Those fell off pretty nicely, and then again, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but so the pollinia are in the bottom of this tube. And then and so what we're doing is we are harvesting the pollinia from these flowers, and you don't need to do this. When you make the cross on these plants, you do not need to harvest the pollinia because you're just trying to, all you need to do is pollinate it. But we're just doing this just to make sure. And what I'm struggling with right now is the angle on this. Okay, and so there is another anther cap that came out, and again, sometimes what happens on these things is they stick, but these guys weren't sticking. And I've got these really nice forceps for pulling out. These pollinia. And normally I'm really careful when I do this, and I save it. But I'm trying to do this for the camera, so they're all going in my hand, I hope. But again, a lot of times these things they're sticky, and I don't know how many. It looks like I got, of the 4 that were there, I got 3 of them in my hand. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in this tube. Okay, so now what we have, and you may be able to see it a little bit better now, but so now there's a lot more pollinia in this tube, and it's got PP for Ports of Paradise written on the tube, on there, and then on there. And so what I'll do is I'll store this, and we'll take a little bit of a break, and I'll come back and show you how I place pollinia from another stored tube. Actually 2. We're gonna try 2 different flowers cross onto this Ports of Paradise here. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, and we're back. So I have grabbed the pollinia of the 2 different flowers that I want to cross onto this. And I should say, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but I should say that I looked to make sure the cross hadn't been made before. So you can go to Orchid Roots and you can look at this plant and you can look at the progeny. And I checked, I searched the progeny to see if any of the parents were any of the parents that I'm using. So all of what I'm going to be making today are novel hybrids. And also you can see what the progeny of Ports of Paradise look like. And surprisingly, the green coloration is a little dominant. So you get a lot of, you cross it with a, with white or a light pink, and you get a lot of green. So I am crossing this with dark, really dark sturdy red Cattleyas. One's a big flower, one's an intermediate sized flower, but the plants that I chose are very vigorous. They grow really nicely, and I think these will make nice hybrids. And I'm doing two because sometimes it doesn't work, so I want to make sure that I get something out of it. All right, so let's do this flower first. And this flower, for some reason, you know, I'm holding it like this, but the flower naturally is growing sideways. And so what you can see is where I'm going to put the pollinia, and that is right, so the top of the flower is here. And so I'm going to put the pollinia right in here. And it's because of my angle, it might be hard to see what's going on, but I think you should be able to see. So it'll go right in there. So let me grab the first one, and I should also tell you that I have these flowers, my tags labeled and on these flowers. So this is a pollination, that's the date of the pollination. On the other side is the parents that I'm using for this cross. So give me a second, and I'm going to grab the pollinia from the first plant. And so that is, and I love these little forceps, but that is right here. So I don't know if you can tell, and this is a little awkward because of the angle that I have to do this at, but the pollen, you can see the pollinia is right in here, and I'm going to place it, and I'm watching my camera, I'm going to place it right back here. And then what happens is it just sticks, and you kind of push it down just to make sure, but that's all there is to it. So that was a successful, hopefully, pollination. And then we'll move to this other flower that is right here, and then you'll see the angle a little bit, and then I have to come up underneath there in order to get this. So I got to look to make sure that I'm doing the right hybrid, and this is, so I've got to go to my tube right here that you can't see and grab a different pollinia out of that, and then I'm going to grab onto that as I'm doing it off camera. I'm sorry if you're looking at something that's bad or blurred, but this one, and this is normally the angle that we have on things, so, and this is again a little awkward, but what we're going to do, so there's the pollinia, I'm going to grab with my forceps, and I think we want to place it right back up underneath in there. And what happens is I place it, I'll go back to make sure it's okay, but I'll look underneath it, but it just, because where you place it is sticky, and that's the whole idea, and that's why this pollination works. It just sticks. So as I removed the forceps, as you could hopefully tell, the pollinia was gone. All right, so that's it. That's all there is to it. I'm going to go make sure that the pollinia on this flower, I'm going to make sure that it is up where it should be. But then I'm done. So what I'm going to do now, I guess the final thing I'm going to do, and I should say, all of these crosses that I make, I have tags here, but I keep it on a spreadsheet in notes on my iPhone. So everything is recorded. If it doesn't work, I say doesn't work, aborted, no fertilization, and I keep really good records of this because I need to know when the pollination was made and what was done and what happens with everything. Okay, so let me make sure it's up in here where it should be. Go grab a couple of Dendrobium flowers and just show you what those look like. Okay, and we are back. So as I'm sitting here, I just wanted you to know that the Ports of Paradise, that's right back here. So the flower is right back here on this plant. This thing is, that's all I can smell is the Ports of Paradise flower, because and these blooms, as kind of droopy as they are, they'll be gone in 2 days, and then what'll happen Let me put this down. What'll happen is on this flower is this area will become the seed capsule right behind it. All right, so there's the flower. This will all turn just crispy, and then the seed capsule will form right there. All right, so I've got 2 Dendrobium flowers that I'm going to show you parts and harvest and how everything is going to work on this. And this is the bigger one, so we'll see how this goes. And the angle on this is going to be interesting, but it's the same thing. So the anther cap, which is what contains the pollinia, is located right here on this flower. So it's right here. And what you tend to do, what you have to do, I'm going to grab the flower a little better. And I have some other Dendrobiums, but I just thought I'd grab these. These were the closest ones to me. But what I'm going to do is lift up on, and you can see it, the anther cap just kind of fall away. And look at that. I don't know if you could see, but the pollinia just fell out. So the pollinia are located right here. They just fell right out, and there's more. Oh, there's more. And again, this is what happens normally, is the anther cap sticks, and then you take your instrument. You do this with toothpicks, but you take this away, and then the pollinia, which are now located right here on this flower. So the white is the anther cap that just sticks. It just stuck to my forceps. So the anther cap, and you have to just take that, which is white, and the pollinia are yellow. And so you'll take the pollinia that are located again at the bottom part of this flower here, and you store these. But those are okay. They look pretty nice. I'm holding the flower with one hand, and then I've got, this is now stuck to my forceps with the other hand. But what I usually do is I have 2 hands, and the flower is held up by the plant, but now I'm holding it with my hand. So, and then I will take these and see this stuck. So that pollinium right there is stuck to the forceps. I think you should be able to tell that. But that's what they do. And so I'll store the pollinia that's on the top tongue of this forceps. I'll store this in the microfiche, and the other one just stuck to it also. Okay, so that's all there is to it. You just take the isolated pollinia that's yellow, and you put them in a tube or fold it up inside a piece of paper, and just write, if it's on a paper, you just write the date and all the information. All the information on there. All right, so let's go take a look at the second flower that's going to be a little bit smaller and see how this one goes. And this is a different plant. This is a different flower, and things are smaller. Believe it or not, it's smaller here, but it's the same type of thing. Oh man, angle is just awesome on this. So same thing, I gotta see where I am, and you pull this up, and again, it's the same type of thing. Now what happened in that case is the pollinia, I don't know if you can tell, but the pollinia are now stuck on the forceps. So that's how it usually happens. And this is small. And these, the smaller flowers you get, the more everything gets smaller, and so it's harder to see what's going on here. So I just lifted up on what this is called the anther cap. It's on the end there. I just lifted it up, and the pollinia just stuck to it. But we can go in here and just, oh, sorry about that, and just pull this thing off. I don't know if there's going to be any more pollinia in there. No, looks like that was it. All right, so anyway, that's how you do it. That kind of gave you, I think, a good overview of what's going on and how you harvest and how you store these. And again, for fertilization on this Dendrobium, what you would do is, I'm going to see where I am. So right back up underneath and behind where we grabbed the pollinia is where the pollinia is placed for fertilization. Okay, and we're back. So I hope I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it wasn't too long. I wanted to provide the detail that that I think is helpful, at least to me, and there was a lot of that in my video today. So if you have any other suggestions for videos, things that you want to see, that you want to hear about, that I might be able to share with you, just please let me know in the comments. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, again, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.